We are now joined by, and I'm excited to say this, New York Times bestseller, Tulsi Gabbard. We were talking last time whether it was going to happen. Not only did it happen in a huge way, multiple weeks running now. So I got to start with congratulations. You got the book right there. I got the book right here. Again, go take a look. Go get it. For Love of Country. It's out now. But again, congratulations. You made the list, defying what we thought may happen. Just congratulations.
Thank you, Logan, and thanks to all of you and your team for talking about the book, promoting the book, urging people to buy it and to share it with friends and family. I honestly was quite shocked when it showed up on the list, not because we weren't getting the kind of support and people weren't buying the book. You know, it's the New York Times. The New York Times bestseller list ultimately is, in their own words, an editorial decision. And so I was quite heartened and surprised to see that my book was on in the top 5 of the New York Times bestseller list and going, I think, on the third week now. So there is some hope, folks. There is some hope.
My wife and I were hanging out a couple nights ago, or I guess a couple weeks ago now when it happened. And I was like, oh, I need to go check the list to update it. And I was like, she made it. And then like everyone was very excited in our house. So it was like a celebration because you're all right. You never know what's going to happen with something like this that can be a bit, arbitrary, can be a bit less decided on sales. Thankfully, with Amazon and some of these, we could kind of track somewhat where book sales were. We knew you should have qualified for it. So if it wasn't, it would have been a big deal if you had not made it. But we're very excited that you had. But we're going to move on now. Well, again, go check out the book. You need to. This obviously shifts a little more serious. There's a lot going on, obviously, in this country right now. And we're learning more. Will brought this up to me today. And we're learning more about a group of Jordanian nationals who tried to ram a gate at Quantico in Virginia. Let me make a long story short. 2 weeks ago, we learned they were stopped by security, but they came in illegally, where we find out these Jordanian nationals across the border in San Diego. They're now in ICE custody. But I want to know your initial thoughts on this. When you hear that, the border obviously has become a top topic for a lot of us. In the compassion part of it, we obviously all play into. We all go, okay, of course, people are looking for a better life. And then we fight back, go, yeah, but that's not really all that's happening here. And then there's these definitive proof moments where that is not what's happening here. So I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I've spent a few days down at that border in Jordan. I'm not in Jordan, in San Diego, and saw in multiple places along the border wall where people are crossing are into our country illegally. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is how well-oiled of a machine this is. Throughout the course of the few days that I was there, there are almost designated places. No, there's not a sign, but people who come across the border from all over the world, they know exactly where to go to get picked up by Border Patrol. I thought, oh, well, maybe they're going to try to evade Border Patrol and try to get away and not be caught. No, these are people who are searching for those spots. Many of them already know exactly where to go. There are some nonprofits who set up tents that provide food and water for people because they know exactly where to go. They want our Border Patrol agents to come and pick them up because that means they will get processed and they'll walk out of that with a piece of paper and a plane ticket to anywhere in the country that they want to go, and a court date that, who knows, it may be in 2 years or it may be in 10 years, but really no way to keep track of these individuals and where they're going, no way to know who they are, what their intentions are in our country, or really what their background is. And so, you heard Senator Lindsey Graham ask a bunch of questions. I'm sure, and we know that Border Patrol does run the names that people are giving them to see if there's a name that pops up on the terror watch list. I think there's been close to 200 names that have pinged on that terror watch list. But I got to tell you, I walked along the border in several parts of San Diego, and I couldn't hardly take 2 steps without seeing a half-burned passport or a torn-up ID card or destroyed government identification papers from people from almost every region in the world. So why is that? Why are people coming across our border illegally and then trying to destroy documentation that government-issued documentation that proves their identity? What happens then when they get picked up and they go in through that processing? They say, oh, well, the cartels took my ID card, but this is who I am. Just trust me. This is so how do you vet someone like that? How do you run a background check? How do you cross-check their name with the international terror watch list? You can't. We have no idea who is in our country. I spoke to a lot of these illegal immigrants when I was down there. Many of them were very calm. They were well dressed. They knew exactly where they were going. I didn't see a single person crying, starving, begging for help. I'm sure that those people are out there, but the vast majority, and I saw hundreds and hundreds of people over the couple of days that I was there. And I talked to them. I said, where are you from? How did you get here? And they were very open and willing to talk. They weren't trying to hide anything. Most of them saying they flew in through Tijuana or Mexicali. They knew exactly where to go to cross into the border. They knew where to go once they came onto U.S. soil. And they said, I'm going to go see my family in Boston. One guy came from Colombia. That was a family from Brazil. Another guy from Colombia said, I'm going to go to Utah. I said, well, what's in Utah? He said, there's a woman there. And I asked him, is this the first time you've come into our country? He said, no, not at all. I've been here many times before. And you contrast that, President Biden's open border policies that are posing a direct threat to our own domestic security, our national security, and the fact that thousands of people are crossing our border every single day in different parts of the border illegally. And then compare that with a good friend of mine who's not alone in this experience, by the way, but he's served as a special forces soldier for over 31 years. He is about to retire. His wife's sister is a resident of Italy. She's married. She's got children in school. They have jobs, business, everything. They applied for a tourist visa to come to the United States to attend my friend's retirement ceremony from the military, and they have been denied. They can't even get a 2-week tourist visa to come and celebrate the service of one of our American service members and heroes. And yet these people are brazenly walking across our border, walking away with papers that give them some kind of legal documentation and doing who knows what in our country. The problem with this open border security is serious on so many levels. And frankly, it just shows that the Biden-Harris administration not only doesn't care about securing the border, they don't care about our national security. They don't care about the rule of law on so many levels, and this is just another example of that.
Look, there is that moment of compassion where you look at some of those imagery and sort of the narrative that is presented. You go, yeah, what are we doing here? How do we handle this? But then your firsthand knowledge, you get to see what actually was going on. Those are the stories that are happening. Like you said, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't intense. It wasn't screaming and crying. These are people who want to go visit family, and they're doing it this way. And then, of course, you have, Will, the counter stories, which is now going after members of our military.
That's right. And we are concerned about the safety of our service members abroad. But now we're having to be concerned about Jordanian nationals that can come across in San Diego and make the trek all the way from San Diego to Virginia and ram a box truck into the gate at Quantico. We know that we're concerned about the safety of our service members abroad, but now that comes home. How far is the administration willing to let this continue?
Well, and this is the thing, Will, is you talk about the safety of our service members abroad. As we approach Memorial Day here on Monday, let's talk about the sacrifices that our servicemen and women have made in multiple wars and conflicts, just in my generation alone, to secure our country, to prevent those Islamist terrorists from coming into our country and launching yet another horrific attack here on our own soil. And you look at those sacrifices in my brothers and sisters' lives, their limbs, injuries, visible and invisible injuries over the last 2 decades. And yet we know that there are members of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations who are illegally entering our country. We know there are sleeper cells right here at home. What a horrific slap in the face to our men and women in uniform and the Gold Star families that they left behind, who never had a chance to say their final goodbye or to kiss or hug their loved one final time before they got that knock on the door saying that they had been killed or died in service to our country. This is such a serious issue that shows how offensive the Biden-Harris administration is through their actions and their policy and their lack of care for all that we cherish and all that we hold dear.
Thank you so much for joining us again this week. Of course, For Love of Country, Leave the Democratic Party Behind is available right now wherever you get books. I'm excited about this. Oh, again, New York Times bestseller. Tulsi Gabbard's new book. Take a look. Thank you, as always, for joining us.